Hi everyone, it's Cherie from 12 by 12 Cardstock Shop, and I did fast forward these videos so they're playing in 3 times and 4 times the speed, just because if not, the video was going to be about 45 minutes long, so bear with me, my voiceover is not going to match my hands. And I know you can probably hear my puppy's little collar jingling in the background during the voiceover, so just don't mind her, she's trying to get attention. So for this, the 2 brushes on the left side of the mat, these are mulberry tools. When you get your mulberry, you want to ensure that it's thick, not thin. And you'll see the difference if you pull up mulberry and look at the picture. Some of them you can see through and some look very full like cotton. That's the one you want to go with. You'll need a cup of water, a paintbrush, a pen, and a pencil, along with a mat or a piece of cardstock to ensure you do not scratch your glass plate or your table with the tools. So for the darker cardstock, you're going to use a ballpoint pen and you need to apply a lot of pressure. The reason why is because you have to break up the fibers from the paper to allow the water to absolutely soak entirely through. Otherwise, you'll ruin your tear. This is an embossing tool. You can get them online, find them in the nail art section of Amazon. And I go over my pen and pencil marks with it just to ensure that I broke up all of the thick fibers. For any light color mulberry, you want to use a pencil. Don't put a lot of pressure into the pencil because you don't want it to go through where it ends up showing on the right side up. When you trace your images, make sure your mulberry is right side down, wrong side up, and that your image or your stencil, template, whatever, is also wrong side down. The reason why you're doing it wrong side down for your mulberry and your stencil or template is so when it dries and you fluff the right side, it's facing the right direction. After you trace it with a pencil, you're going to go around it with an embossing tool. I know We Are Memory Keepers has them also. It has a sharp point on one end and your embossing tool on the other end. After you go around it, it doesn't have to be perfect. With your embossing tool, you'll take your paintbrush and your little cup of water, and this is one way you can actually do the pull. The other way is to completely saturate it, and I will show you that on the second piece in the red after we do it the way I do it. I will show you the alternative way. And there is 2 other ways to pull mulberry paper. One is to do it dry, and 2 is to do it completely saturated. The reason I showed those were because I wasn't planning on doing a voiceover, but then my daughter came in and started making a bunch of noise with everything that she didn't need until I started recording, and I was saying I'm all about textures. I added the little dino to the little boy's shirt, and it's a 3D nail art sticker, and then the plaque paper for the little car. I love textured cardstock, but sometimes I want to take it up a level, and the Highland cow that we're going to do after this video portion of the mulberry paper concludes is from kadoodlebugdesigns.com and is just called Highland Cow. That's all. She has several types of them, but I was seeing them everywhere and I was trying to incorporate texture the best I could with something that is just a very basic piece. There isn't a lot of extra to the cow, believe it or not. There's no backpack with crayons like I showed you, or chrome on the fender of the car, anything like that. It's just the cow, and I was like, what can I do to make it more texture? And that's where the mulberry paper came in. Now, this is where I was talking about doing a completely wet pull, and pull meaning P-U-L-L. I'm doing a voiceover with my AirPods, and I know they don't always pick up every word clearly. I don't do it that way because it stains my water, and if I'm doing a whole bunch of different mulberry papers, then my water, I have to go dump it, get new water, and I just don't want to cross-contaminate and turn my white into pink per se, or have a red tint to my brown, etc. And it also takes way longer to dry, and you have to wait until your mulberry is dry in order to actually fluff it with the fluffing brush. So in those little corners, I do use fine tipped tweezers. And the reason why is because if I pull it by itself, it's not going to give the definition I want. So I just go in with some tweezers and I start pulling carefully. Make sure you're holding both sides of the mulberry paper, because it will rip into it or it'll rip unevenly and you could ruin a piece. Now, when I go around my lighter pieces that I've used a pencil on, I drag my fingers like so. The reason I do this is because it helps get rid of the pencil mark. That way you can't see it on the right side up, because you're not going to erase it. And this wet one, you really need to wait until it dries, because you'll destroy it if you try to use the tool. There, I just dumped the water because I'm clumsy and I didn't realize that my aim was off on placing my mat. So if that happens, all I do is I stick the wet piece inside of just a paper towel or a wash rag, or in this case a microfiber rag, and I absorb whatever and I set it aside. My edges are dry for the most part on this piece, so we're going to go ahead and take the mulberry tool on a mat or a piece of cardstock, something other than the glasser table, because the bristles on your brushes will scratch anything you're doing it on. I start from the middle and work outwards. The reason being is because it gives it just a fuller, furry look. You don't have to do this. You can actually just use your fingers and fluff it. If you get too carried away with the fluffing, I do recommend to double up. What I mean by that is make 2 identical pieces and glue them together with art glitter glue. You will see me use my acrylic blocks later on. I use those as a weight to allow the glue to dry and adhere with a very secure bond before doing it. So one, I don't end up getting glue in the mulberry paper, and also so I don't drag it towards the edges where the edges end up hard and crunchy. Now, as you see, I'm just going around from the middle outwards, and you're going to go from the middle to the direction of the edge that you're working towards. You don't want to go from the top to the bottom or from side to side, because your paper is going to end up thinning out. And what I do recommend is cutting out a bunch of circles or hearts or just simple shapes and starting. There I was showing what I meant by the double up, and there's the acrylic blocks I use for weights to allow my glue to dry with a heaviness, so that way it sticks and does not come apart. But just practice on simple pieces, getting the hang of pulling if you like to do it dry or wet, and you build from there then by tracing your shapes. Now here is the super cute Highland cow from kadoodlebugdesigns.com, and I just verified the sizing. It does import it a 7.99 in Cricut Design Space and in the width. I changed the width to 8.0 and the height auto adjusts to 9.986. I just did that because my OCD said I had to do it. The unevenness of the numbers drives me bonkers. Plus, since I resize everything to whole numbers such as 11, 11.25, I didn't want to stray from my normal, because if I needed to cut it out again, I would automatically know to round it up to the next wholest size, because he is the perfect size the way he is. And he does measure 4 inches tall, leaving him at that height. So you're going to start with the antlers and then your ears. After that, you can put your ear pads made of mulberry paper on there. And you're going to move down to the bottom to the base of his hoof, which it looks like a whole leg, but you'll notice the difference between the hoof and the hair on the leg, which is the lighter brown. I did not make him completely furry just because it would be too much. And also, I hate drawing eyelashes on the mulberry. It is a very difficult task. I've been scrapbooking off and on for 20 years, but got back into it about 4 years ago. And I've just kind of gone out of the box with things I've started doing because I want to make my stuff stand out. I do have a lot of customers and repeat customers, and they always tell me that I always go above and beyond with the pieces. And that's where the texture comes in. You don't even have to ink anything. If you incorporate embossing folders and emboss your cardstock or diamonds, the little jewels, you can get those from Hobby Lobby or Amazon. The little boy that I showed in the first part of the video with his little dinosaur. There are so many things to take up your pieces the next level. And a lot of the times you guys watching our videos give you guys the ideas and inspiration, and that's why we do this. So after you got his legs together with the base of the hoof and the leg with the hair, it will go his body, and then you're going to have to glue his arms down first, the hoof part, and then the fur, because the base does have the outline that it lines up with. And I did debate whether I wanted the hair under the arms like the picture, or if I wanted the neck hair above the arms, and I thought it looked better above on top of the arms. But this is at your discretion, not mine. This is just my preference, and this is for ideas. This is not anything that's mandatory. So if you see the little bottle up there, that is the Cosmic Shimmer Flake and Glitter Glue. I use that for things that I need to reposition. And since his eyes have to be in the perfect spot for me in order to make sure that I can get the best visual appearance for them to be in the perfect height above his snout but lower than his hair, that is where I use the Cosmic Shimmer Flake and Glitter Glue. I got it from Amazon. You put a dot on the back. It's going to be a real pearlescent color that's opal. And when it's dry, it becomes translucent where you can see through it. I touch my fingers on it a couple times to get rid of this really sticky part of it. That way then I can pop it off, as you guys see, once I get done tracing my eyes. I also used it for my head. That way I could position my head just perfectly where the head stayed, the base of the head. And then I used it on the back of the snout and the back of both of the eyes. And I popped it off after I got my eyes in the perfect position for my liking. I traced them, did the eyelashes. Now I'm using Pan Pastel Black along with, it's a false eyelash glue applicator. All of the tools for the mulberry paper tools and the eyelash glue applicators, the Pan Pastel, things that you see me use in my video, if you go to my page, which is on Facebook, under Paper Pieces and Leftovers, I have a post from August, the beginning of August, the first week I should say, and it says that here is my live video with all the tools I used during the video, because I did prepare everybody for the mulberry, since I mentioned in that video that I would be doing mulberry teaching mulberry. There you go. So they already have a head start on the tools. The reason we did the mulberry part first is so that way you can do that and set it aside to dry before you put your little cow or whatever you incorporate your mulberry paper onto. I also use mulberry, if you scroll through my page, for a towel for a little boy that was done during summertime, because it gave it the fuzzy appearance of, what are those little baby washcloths? Terry cloth. And I just thought it was perfect. I post everything in the comments. You just have to click it and it'll take you right to where you have to go to add it to your cart. You can save it in your cart for later. The Pan Pastel is titanium white, and that is a dual tip lipstick brush. The purple one you see next to the Pan Pastel to the left, that's what I apply the white chalk to, the eyes or my highlights with. The end with the cap that's flat actually comes off, and it's a wide, flat angled brush, and I love it for everything I do. That as well is in the comments with the link right to where you can put them in your cart, whether you get them now or save them for later. Now after you got the neck on, you glue the head on. You can do the snout and the eyes, get your eye position just right, and once you get everything traced and all dolled up, you add your coloring. Then you're going to glue the eyes down, the base of the snout, the tongue and the top of the snout because it's 2 parts, and then you can glue his hair on and he's done. I just go and take a white gel pen for the whites of the eyes and the little line on the side. That's a Faber-Castell white chalk pencil. I got it from Hobby Lobby. They're in the singles. I pick up a couple of them at a time. And anything you need, just ask. But like I said, all the tools, they're on my Facebook page, Paper Pieces and Leftovers, underneath the live video, and it says that all tools are in the comments. That way you don't have to go on a mission looking for them, and you know which is the right one. I also have the glue bottles linked in there. But thanks for watching and following. Have a good day.